welcome everybody. Good evening to you all. Good evening from Ghana to you all in Kenya, in South Africa, in Cameroon, and Zimbabwe, and Benin, and all the countries we have connected. Good evening to you all, and welcome to day 3 of our AWS CCP certification training. In this particular course, we are learning cloud computing with focus on AWS CCP certification examination. And this is a very important examination that will test your knowledge in cloud. And after you get great experience in cloud and AWS, to be precise, you are going to be a certified cloud practitioner. This particular exam is very credible. And so to prove and maintain that credibility, you are going to be tested well before giving the badge. If you learn hard, you are going to pass. And AWS has a lot of topics and content that we have to cover for us to understand cloud and understand AWS, for us to be able to get certified. And so to get certified, we have to get this done so that once you take your examination, you are going to succeed. And to get right into this lesson, I'm going to play a short clip about CloudFront, the edge locations, for us to refresh our memories on that. And right after that, I'll begin my lesson. So let me share my screen and we'll get right into that. All right, so I'm going to share that video. We watch it again. Make sure you learn from it because there are a lot of important information that you are supposed to understand. So let's get into this particular video.
Introducing Amazon CloudFront, a fast, highly secure, and programmable content delivery network service. With CloudFront, you can deliver your content and applications to millions of users at scale. You can deliver both static and dynamic content. CloudFront has a worldwide network of data centers called edge locations and is integrated with AWS at physical locations directly connected to the expanding AWS global infrastructure. You can use either an AWS origin or your own custom origin server. CloudFront helps you deliver content securely to your customers. You can encrypt your communications with a free custom TLS certificate from Amazon Certificate Manager, or you can import your own certificate. You also get DDoS protection with AWS Shield Standard by default. You receive comprehensive availability protection against all known Layer 3 and 4 network attacks. AWS Shield provides always-on detection and automatic inline mitigations that minimize application downtime and latency. CloudFront also integrates seamlessly with AWS WAF for application layer protection. CloudFront's infrastructure and processes are all compliant with a wide range of standards to ensure delivery of the most sensitive data. With the Lambda at Edge feature, you can run complex application logic closer to your customers. CloudFront and Lambda at Edge automatically scale and replicate your application logic globally without you having to scale your own origin infrastructure. You can go serverless and offer dynamic, highly personalized web applications with Lambda at Edge. Using CloudFront makes financial sense. Data transfer out from other AWS origins to CloudFront is free. CloudFront accelerates and protects many types of traffic, all under the same pricing structure. And with Amazon CloudFront's pay-as-you-go pricing model, you pay for only what you use. You can get started with Amazon CloudFront for free.
As customers look to innovate with the cloud, AWS is focused on helping you grow your business by enabling your organization to securely run a wide range of applications. Our customers shared with us key reasons why they choose AWS to build and run their applications. First, AWS is the most secure and reliable cloud for virtually any application. Second, AWS delivers the most capabilities to build and run your applications today and tomorrow. Third, AWS constantly innovates to deliver more performance and lower costs, helping you get the most value from your infrastructure. And finally, AWS brings cloud capabilities wherever you need it, in the cloud, on premises, or at the edge. Now let's hear what an AWS customer has to say.
At Starbucks, we set out to build two things for AWS to help us solve. One, our rewards platform. And the main reason we did that is to control our own destiny versus using a vendor. And we knew AWS would be able to give us the scale and the cloud-first design that we wanted. And the second one being our commerce platform. So if anybody's ever mobile order from their app at Starbucks, the entire engine behind that we've built on AWS. Coffee is a pretty simple thing, but it's also a really important part of people's life. And so we want the technology to be out of the way for the customer, but make it an easy experience and trust, again, that it's reliant.
So how do we deliver performance, security, and innovation together? AWS offers advanced capabilities to protect your most sensitive data and significantly more security, compliance, and governance capabilities than any other cloud provider. The AWS Nitro system, the foundation of our modern compute infrastructure, provides built-in security at the chip level. It offers unparalleled performance by offloading the overhead from virtualization to give more resources for your applications. And the Nitro system gives us more flexibility to design and deliver new EC2 instances more quickly, enabling you to innovate faster. AWS offers more than 200 services, over 575 compute instances, and the broadest range of serverless compute, storage, and networking options, so you can find the right fit for your workload. AWS has extensive experience in designing processors and chips optimized for the cloud. This helps deliver the best price performance so you can get the most value for your investments. Additionally, AWS has more services than any other cloud provider to help build hybrid architectures, so you can easily run your applications anywhere, in the cloud, on premises, or at the edge. And with IoT, 5G, high-performance computing, robotics, and quantum technologies, AWS is building the future of computing for you. Discover why customers count on AWS to securely build and run their applications.
Now, let me tell you a story. Years ago, a woman in my neighborhood started a small provision shop. At first, she sold only 3 items on a tabletop: bread, milk, and eggs. She worked tirelessly day and night in the sun for several months. Her hard work paid off, and soon she managed to put a roof over her stand. I have never seen anyone work so hard. She was so dedicated and committed to what she was doing. Although it started so small, and she started with just 3 products. As time went on, she began adding more products and expanding. After a few years, she could afford a wooden store, and she kept on working so hard. Eventually, her store grew into a full-fledged supermarket with countless products. This is a true story. Today is a one-stop shop for providing over 200 different items that cater to everyone's needs, from low-income families to luxury homes in the city. This is exactly the journey of Amazon Web Services. When AWS was launched in 2006, it offered just 3 core services. It offered EC2 for compute, S3 for storage, and SQS for messaging. These were the 3 essentials for developers and businesses just beginning to explore the possibilities of cloud computing and cloud technology. As demand grew, AWS expanded, adding more services year after year and innovating to meet a broader range of needs. Today, AWS is like that woman's shop, transformed into a supermarket with over 200 services that support businesses of all sizes. from startups to industry giants. Today, when you enter that woman's supermarket, you may even feel overwhelmed by the numerous products. But fortunately, the items are grouped into various sections. That makes it easier to comprehend. Similarly, AWS organizes its services into categories, each serving a different need. We have the compute services, and in the compute category, we have EC2, which provides virtual servers for running applications. We have Lambda, which is serverless computing that executes code automatically in response to specific events. It is ideal for microservices and lightweight tasks. We have Elastic Beanstalk, a managed service that simplifies deploying web applications by automatically managing resources. Then we have one of my favorites. It's called ECS, Elastic Container Service, which manages Docker containers, supporting microservices architecture. And then EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service, a managed Kubernetes service for running containerized applications, automating scaling, deployments, and managing workloads, similar to ECS. Then we have Lightsail, the favorite of many, a user-friendly service for small businesses and for beginners. We also have storage services. In storage services, we have our favorite S3 buckets, simple storage service for storing and retrieving data, such as text files, large videos, backups, or anything you want to store in the storage. This is the main storage service from AWS. Just like you've been storing on your hard drive or your external hard drive or your SSD, you can store numerous things on Amazon S3. You can even host static websites built with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We also have Elastic Block Store, or EBS, which is block storage for EC2 instances. This EBS can be configured to work with EC2 and is designed for high-performance applications. We have Glacier, which is an ultra-low storage for data that is not frequently accessed. And so if you have data that you will not be accessing frequently, instead of renting S3 and paying more, AWS always wants you to optimize costs. So for data that you don't access frequently, you can use Glacier. We also have FSX, a managed file system solution with options for Windows and Lustre. We have Storage Gateway, which connects on-premise storage with AWS. This is ideal for cloud environments. We have our database services. In database categories, we have the Relational Database Service, RDS, which is a managed relational database for MySQL, PostgreSQL, and several database systems. We have DynamoDB, a highly scalable NoSQL database for fast data access. We have the popular Aurora, which is a high-performance relational database compatible with MySQL and PostgreSQL. We have Redshift, a data warehouse for analyzing large data sets, ideal for business intelligence and data analytics. We have Document DB, a managed database compatible with MongoDB for document-based applications. Then we have the popular networking and content delivery categories. We have VPC, Virtual Private Cloud, which provides a secure, isolated network for launching AWS resources. We have Route 53, a domain registration and DNS service for routing internet traffic. We have CloudFront, which is so popular, a content delivery network that delivers data with low latency, great for websites and streaming. We have Direct Connect, a dedicated network connection which allows you to connect on-premise data centers to AWS for fast, secure transfers. We have API Gateway, which manages and deploys secure APIs, enabling seamless integration with backend services. And then when we move on to the management and governance, we have CloudWatch, which monitors and logs AWS resources to keep an eye on your applications. Sometimes you do not see what is going on, and sometimes you incur several costs that you are not prepared for. But with CloudWatch, you are able to monitor your services on AWS. We have CloudTrail, which records user activities, ensuring transparency and security. We have Amazon Config, which tracks and assesses AWS resources, resource configurations, ensuring compliance. We have Server Manager, which manages AWS resources across environments from a central location. We have Amazon Organizations, which manages multiple AWS accounts with consolidated billing and access control. These services are the core services of AWS that is essential for the AWS CCP certification exam. As we begin our lessons, we will brush through them, making them easier and more familiar to you day by day. And once we get into them and study them into details, they become easier to understand. This will help you prepare for this entry-level examination, which is a foundational examination and certification for anyone who is getting into cloud or building their understanding in cloud services for any tech role. In this examination, there are multiple questions, and for each question, there are multiple choice and sometimes multiple answers. We have 65 questions in all, and you have about 90 minutes to answer these questions. The cost of this examination is $100, but at Rita Africa, every student is sponsored to take this examination at no cost. All you have to do is to study, understand, be ready, take the practice tests, and prove that you are ready to take the main test. Once you score 70% and above or higher, you will be a certified cloud practitioner, and you'll be given a badge that you can showcase to the world and to employers that you are certified and you can be employed globally, proving to the world that you have a future in tech. Do you have a future in tech? Yes, I believe you have a future in tech. I have a future in tech, and I believe strongly that you have a future in tech. And so when you learn AWS, you get to learn about modern technology. You get to use modern technology, and this makes AWS really, really great. It makes learning cloud really, really great. It makes you very advanced and cutting edge for you to know the technology tools that are used today for you to be advanced in technology. Yeah, sometimes the kind of tools and the services and the platforms you know and you use, they are outdated. Sometimes what you are using expired 10 years ago, and today this is not what we use. With AWS, you get access to cutting edge technology, you get access to modern tools, you get to upgrade yourself, you get to be tech ready for the modern world. And so let's take this course seriously and let's learn all we can about AWS and let's become AWS Cloud Certified. AWS Cloud Certified. This is really important. And once we are certified cloud practitioners, we will be able to have what it takes to use modern tools in our various fields and be able to attract better opportunities and be able to do great things in the industry and be able to stand out. And it's very important to stand out. And this is what we are working towards here at Rate Africa. We want our students to stand out. We are working so hard to make sure that you stand out and you be the best. Today, AWS has over 200 services. And if you don't take time, it's going to be overwhelming understanding them. But the good news is that these services are in categories. These services are in categories. And once we look at them in terms of the categories, it becomes easier. Also, for the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner Certification Examination, you are required to know the core services. The core services, not all the 200 plus services. And so in this course, we are teaching the core services of AWS. And for the core services, we have one category called the compute services. Compute, AWS Compute. Please type AWS Compute in the chat for me. We have AWS Compute. Please put that in the chat for me. So we have the compute services, and the compute services, we are going to go into details and understand what these compute services are. We know that for the compute services, we have AWS or Amazon EC2, and this provides a virtual server to run applications using virtualization technology. And so this was one of the main services of AWS when AWS started in 2006. AWS started in 2006, and they started with a compute service. The compute service they started is what we are talking about right now, EC2. And this is one of the core services of EC2, one of the most attractive services, one of the most popular services, well-known services on EC2, and one of the services that students and beginners are supposed to know more about when it comes to AWS. And so for this examination, we are going to spend some time to get a little bit into EC2 for us to understand what it is and also understand the types of instances we have on EC2, because we know that once you set up an EC2, it is called an instance, but then we need to understand that there are instance types. Instance types. Please put that in the chat for me. Instance types. So we'll be talking about the instance types. And then we will also get into the pricing model of EC2, because the examination requires that you know the pricing models. And so anytime you are setting up an EC2, you need to choose the instance type, you need to choose the pricing model. And these are the essentials of EC2 that this exam requires from you. After we go through the services, the core services, we will elaborate on certain other areas that we should know, because sometimes EC2 connects with EBS and other services. And so we need to talk about these core services and then we connect them. Then we also have AWS Lambda, which we'll get into after EC2. And we also talk about Elastic Beanstalk. We also have Amazon ECS, Elastic Container Service, and this is a way to manage containers. Also, we have the EKS, which is also another container service from Amazon. that also allows you to manage Kubernetes containers. And then we have Amazon Lightsail, which is a user-friendly service for launching simple web servers, and it's ideal for small businesses and for beginners. And so we'll do that. And then we also look at what we call the storage services. And for storage services, we will dive into S3. If you know what S3 stands for, please put that in the chat for me. We'll get into S3. And S3 is used for storing. It's just a storage service. And it is for storing and retrieving data, such as text files, large videos, backups, and anything you want to store. As a matter of fact, you can even use S3 to host a static website with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Just a static website you can store on S3 and use it on S3. We also have Elastic Block Store, which is a block storage for EC2. And so once we learn about the storage, we will learn that EBS, Elastic Block Store, can also connect to EC2, and it is designed for high performance applications on EC2. Then we'll talk about Amazon Glacier, which is an ultra low storage, low cost storage, ultra low cost storage for data that is accessed infrequently, like archives. So Amazon Glacier is low cost storage. And so instead of using an S3 bucket, you decide that, okay, this kind of data, we don't access them frequently. They are archives. And so for archives, what do I use? Should I use S3 or Glacier? All right, let me just go for Glacier because Glacier offers low cost, number one, and also Glacier is something that allows you to store what you will not be using frequently, like archives. Then we also have Amazon FSx, which we'll get into under storage, and it's a managed file system solution with options for Windows and Lustre. We have Storage Gateway, which connects on-premise storage with AWS. And so if you have on-premise storage, you can connect it with AWS, and it's ideal for hybrid cloud environment. Today, our focus is on the compute services. And yesterday, we talked a little bit about compute to let you know that when it comes to cloud computing, we have what we call compute services that provide you with computers. Okay, so if you want machines, please type machines in the chat for me. So when you go on AWS, you see storage, you see databases, you see compute, and you see networking and content delivery. And you know that you need to run an application. And so you need to understand that you need to use the compute because the compute gives you computers or give you machines. And these machines are there to run applications. So these are machines you use to run applications. So apart from these machine services or compute services, we also have what we call the database services like RDS, Relational Database Service on Amazon, which is a managed relational database for MySQL, Postgres, and more. And then we also have DynamoDB. So in the world of databases, AWS also provide database services. So we will talk about that. I mentioned RDS, DynamoDB. We also have Aurora, Amazon Aurora, which is a high performance relational database compatible with MySQL and Postgres SQL. Then we have Redshift, which is a data warehouse for analyzing large data sets, ideal for business intelligence. Then we have DocumentDB. So we'll talk about that in the database services class. And DocumentDB is a managed database compatible with MongoDB and document-based applications. And so this is so wonderful. And in our classes, we will try and go over the core services, just mention their names so that You hear them quite often, and this will help you familiarize yourself with them. Right now, when you hear light sail, it's beginning to make a lot of sense now. Light sail is beginning to make a lot of sense now. When you hear lambda, okay, it's beginning to make a lot of sense now. But the first time you heard lambda, you were like, what is this? You didn't even know how to pronounce it well. And of course, if you're a Python student, when you advance a little into Python, you realize that you can create lambda in Python and all that. And AWS allows you to write Python in AWS Lambda. And we learned a little bit about Lambda, just a little introduction to it. And at least, even though we've not gotten into details, you understand that, okay, Lambda allows you to write code to manage computers. So instead of setting up EC2 and managing EC2, because EC2 allows you to manage everything right from operating system to your application and your data. With Lambda, you don't manage anything. You just write code. So this is why we call it serverless computing, because you don't deal with server. You just write code. But then the code you write will activate servers and set up servers to execute those functions or those tasks. And again, the code we write for Lambda, technically they are called Lambda functions. So once you hear Lambda functions, we are just talking about the code. Yes, and so Amazon, because of optimization and better pricing and efficiency, making sure that everybody is happy, nobody pays more than they have to pay. Amazon has come up with various types of compute services. And as you go into them, you realize that they are so interesting and you get to know which one works best for your particular project. Yes. And which one you need at which point in time. So with Lambda, you just write code and that's all. That does not mean you don't need EC2 because Lambda can be expensive if you use it when you are supposed to use EC2. So sometimes you are supposed to use EC2 when you are running continuous applications or you need a compute to run for long. You need EC2. Lambda is usually for microservices and occasional usage. So something that you need only when an event happens, only when something happens, when there's a condition. For example, in our Python class, we learn about if conditions. And so they only happen if something happens or when something happens. So those ones we use Lambda to manage them. And one good thing about Lambda is that you can link it to an event. And so when that event takes place, then the code will be activated. When the code is activated, all the servers and the compute are also activated. But AWS is saying that you don't need to worry about the compute aspect, the server aspect. As a matter of fact, we are not even going to tell you how we do it. Just focus on your code and focus on your application, and we'll take care of the rest. So knowing about the names is very, very important. And I'm saying this to tell you that it does not mean that, okay, Lambda is easy, so I'll always use Lambda. That's not what it means at all. Lambda is more suited for certain types of operations. Light sail is also there for certain type of applications or operations or tasks. And so once you learn about them, you know which one to use. Okay, it does not mean, all right, because Lambda is there, I'm never going to use EC2. Yeah, so let's get clarity on that. We also have our networking and content delivery services, and we have something called Virtual Private Cloud or VPC that we'll get into. It provides secure, isolated network for launching AWS resources. We have Route 53, which is a DNS management system and a domain registration system for routing internet traffic. So it's a domain registration system and a DNS management system for routing internet traffic. And if you're a webmaster, this makes a lot of sense because you've been managing DNS for some time, and all the records, sometimes you need to have an A record, sometimes a TXT record, and all that. And in our webmaster class, I like the way we went through the class. At least we've been familiar with Cloudflare, we've been familiar with content delivery networks, we've been familiar with setting up DNS and managing DNS to an extent. And I like the fact that we spent more time with MySQL and PHP and it helped a lot. All right. Even though it was challenging, it really, really helped a lot from the teaching point of view, from a professional point of view. I'm so happy that we got to have those experiences. For AWS gives us CloudFront, which is also part of their networking and content delivery network or services. And CloudFront is a content delivery network or CDN. Please type CDN in the chat for me. It's a CDN that delivers data with low latency, great for websites and for streaming. And so it works with the edge locations, like we've always had. And with the edge locations, it brings the edge locations and the data closer to the user to reduce latency and for fast content delivery. We also have Direct Connect under networking, which is a dedicated network connection from an on-premise data center to AWS for fast, secure transfer. So if you have a data center and you want to have a direct connection with AWS, you can use what is called Direct Connect. We also have our API gateway for managing and deploying secure APIs, enabling seamless integration with backend services. And of course, we have our management and governance services. CloudWatch. CloudWatch is an amazing service, which we'll be getting into soon. And with CloudWatch, you realize that, wow, it helps you to monitor a lot of things. So it monitors and logs AWS resources to keep an eye on your applications. For example, sometimes if you don't manage your services well on AWS, you may be billed in ways that you don't understand. With CloudWatch, you can monitor your billing and know how you are billed and know that you are billed for the right things, helps you understand it. We also have CloudTrail, which records user activity, ensuring transparency and security. We also have Config, which tracks and accesses AWS resource configurations, ensuring compliance. We also have Systems Manager, and this Systems Manager manages AWS resources across environments from a central location. Organizations also manages multiple AWS accounts with consolidated billing and access control. Yes, so what we are doing is to help you prepare your mind. And so once you keep hearing these things and we get into them, it will be easier to understand. Yes, so it's a great technique, and understanding these core services is essential for succeeding in the AWS Certified Cloud Computing certification or Certified Cloud Practitioner certification examination. And these are the core services we need to focus on. They are foundational for understanding AWS. Once we understand these core services, then we have gotten a good grasp of what AWS is and how to use cloud. So this is a good introduction to cloud and ideal for anyone starting with AWS or anyone who wants to build a broad understanding in cloud services when it comes to technology, connecting your field with cloud. And today, every field is being connected with cloud. Data analytics is deeply connected with cloud. AI, data science, machine learning is deeply connected with cloud. And if you are not connected with cloud, please, you are outdated. You are not there yet. You are behind. You need to come in front. So this is what we will need for the examination. And for the exam, remember, it's going to be multiple choice and multiple answers. Some questions you choose one option. Some questions you are asked to choose multiple answers. There are about 65 questions. There are 90 minutes that you have to take the examination. You can take the examination at home or at a test center. Once we get there, we'll give you the information for you to know how to prepare to take your examination. And right after this, you guys are going to get your exam taken. And the cost of the examination is 100 USD flat. And as students of Rita Africa, you are being sponsored to take this examination. And so you are not going to pay anything for it. So it is a beautiful thing to be part of Rita Africa, to be able to take this particular examination and certification and other ones that will open a lot of doors for you and give you a lot of opportunities to advance. The passing score is 70%. And once you take the examination, you'll know immediately whether you have passed or you have not passed. And we encourage all our students to take this seriously and learn. And you'll be taking some practice tests in-house and pass those ones to be sure that you are ready for the main test. So just learn hard and you are going to succeed. And I'm so happy the kind of knowledge this course is bringing to you. And what we want to tell you is to open your mind to new things. I like that. Open your mind to new information. Open your mind to new knowledge. Open your mind to advancement. So you are going to be hearing new things, and these new things, as you hear them, you're advised to accept them, be ready to get into them and understand them, because this is going to help you advance. So let us embark on this journey together. And with this particular training that we are going to go through and this certification that you are going to have, it will help you prepare for the real world and help you show the world that you have a future in tech. You have a future in tech. So let's talk about the compute services. Let's talk about the compute services. So all that you see on the screen right now are compute services. These are the core compute services. We have Amazon EC2, AWS Lambda, Elastic Beanstalk, AWS ECS, which stands for Elastic Container Service, and we have EKS, which is Kubernetes, Elastic Kubernetes Service. And then we also have the Light Sail, Amazon Light Sail. All right. So when we say compute services, AWS Compute refers to the range of services that AWS offers to provide processing power. This processing power refers to anything with CPU, the central processing unit, or anything that is a machine or a computer. Your CPU is the brain of the computer. So all the services that require computing, that require the use of the CPU, that requires the use of processor or a machine, a computer, is under the compute services. So these are a range of services, and we just talked about 6 of them. Now, unlike storage services that store data, these compute services are designed to run applications, tasks, and workloads. Where? In the cloud. So when it comes to compute services, you need to understand that they are not just there for data backup or data storage. They are computers. So what do you use computers for? We use them to run applications. We use them to run applications. I like that. We use them to run applications. So when we talk about compute services, anytime we are dealing with compute services, we are talking about running applications. If you want to run an application, you need a computer to do that. So they run applications or programs, tasks, and workloads. Yes, so we'll get into details to understand that, okay, so it's not only applications, but there are other services that we can run with compute. So we'll get into all of those ones, like tasks and other workloads, we'll get into detail. So these services provide virtual machines. They provide what? Virtual machines. So again, we said these are computers that operate in the cloud. And if they operate in the cloud, you need to understand that the cloud is the internet, and the internet is a network, and there's a lot of networking that goes on to make the cloud work, and a lot of networking behind the machines that host your service. So as part of you understanding the components of a computer in the cloud, you need to understand that under all of them is a strong network and a very powerful networking system that is built under it. So once we talk about compute, we will mention networking, and don't just take your mind to the network and cloud front services, but understand that once we are in the cloud, there's networking involved. And definitely, once we talk about computers, we know that there's a level of storage involved as well. So once we talk about compute services, although we are not talking about storage services, we can also talk about storage under compute, because every computer has storage. Your laptop is a computer, it has storage. All right. And we also saw EBS, that EBS, being a storage service, also works with some of the compute services to help with data storage. All right. And we need to understand that these services provide VMs, virtual machines. And these virtual machines are the machines that we run on. And so once we talk about computers in the cloud or these compute services, understand that they are operating in virtual environments. It's very important to understand that they are operating in virtual environments. So they are virtual machines that are set up. And if you have the knowledge of virtualization, it makes it very, very easy. If you yourself, you've set up a virtual machine before, it makes it easy to understand. If you've never set up a virtual machine before, you may find it difficult to know what we are even talking about. But virtualization is something that everyone can do. And it's so amazing. It's an interesting concept that if you've never heard of it, you need to research into it and try it. It's amazing. If you have your laptop, you can create 3 computers on your laptop, 4 computers on your laptop. What do I mean by computers? Yes, they are real computers. So from your computer, you can have another computer on your computer through what we call a hypervisor. Once you set up this virtual machine, you can install a new operating system, new applications, and use that computer. Because it's virtual, it is software-based, and you can delete it anytime you want. It's an interesting concept. So once we talk about AWS compute, we need to understand that they are virtual machines. All right. And so these virtual machines, these services provide virtual machines. Servers, of course, they are running on real servers. And they are also container-based solutions, because there are certain services that are supposed to be run through another system we call containerization. So we'll look at that when we talk about Elastic Container Services and Kubernetes services. And we use that for running applications or programs, for hosting websites, and processing requests. These are compute services. So these compute services operate under the infrastructure as a service model, or IaaS model. This means compute services provide the underlying infrastructure, such as servers and computing resources, which you can use to deploy and manage your applications. All right, so what are we talking about? We are saying that the compute services from AWS, they operate under the IaaS cloud computing model. We learned about several cloud computing models like PaaS, SaaS, and of course the IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. So with this particular model, what happens is that you are purchasing infrastructure. So the cloud provider gives you the infrastructure as a service. So once you have the infrastructure, then you can build upon it and put your application on it. And when we talk about compute services, they are the infrastructure. They are the real servers, real computers, and computing resources like CPU, like RAM, like storage that you need to be able to do your work. You know, the first time you get a computer, you need to think about the operating system you want to use. After you have your operating system, you need to think about the applications you want to run on it. All right. So with cloud compute services, you are also giving the main infrastructure. You have to think about the operating system. You have to think about the applications you have to run on it. And all of these are operating on top of AWS's global infrastructure, and they are fantastic pricing models. And it makes it very, very great to work with AWS and very, very great to use the cloud. These services eliminate the need for physical servers and infrastructure, allowing businesses to scale, deploy, and manage applications with greater flexibility and cost. This is so wonderful. So as a business, you don't have to get your own physical servers to run your machines. When we say physical servers, someone is asking, so why will a business need physical servers? Yes, companies that run a lot of IT services, they need servers to run several services. So instead of setting up their own data centers, their own services, they don't have to do that. They can just use AWS and they are good to go. Apart from that, even if they set up their own service, apart from the cost involved, how expensive it is, one thing they will lack is that they are going to miss out on the fantastic infrastructure that AWS provides globally. And so they have just one data center. If you're on AWS, you get to take advantage of their global infrastructure. AWS said they have spent more than $7 billion in building this infrastructure for you. And all of you can take advantage of this $7 billion infrastructure. So instead of setting up your own, that is just one, you can make use of AWS's $7 billion global infrastructure that allows you to deploy your app in any region you want, allows you to take advantage of the availability zones to deploy your app in any availability zone. Apart from these AZs, we have multiple data centers that your applications can operate through. And we have the fantastic edge locations and CloudFront technology that AWS provides. I mean, why would you want to miss this? So because of that, companies are flocking to AWS to use their services. So it allows businesses to have a lot of benefit. Apart from that, AWS doesn't allow you to spend all that money to set up on your own. And they also allow you to scale as and when you need. So this makes it very, very easy. With no money at all, you can just start and you just pay for the little you use. This is fantastic. And AWS Compute Services provide scalable, reliable, and flexible infrastructure for various computing needs. So we have seen that these particular services, there are several of them, and each one meets a specific need. These are the compute services. We are not just talking about the general AWS services. We are talking about the compute services, and we'll start with the first one called Amazon EC2. Who knows what Amazon EC2 stands for? Let me see in the chat. Let me see in the chat if you know what Amazon EC2 stands for. All right, so let me see. Okay. Okay. So Amazon EC2, it stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. That's beautiful. Elastic Compute Cloud. So this is what we are going to get into. And what I want to tell you right now is that with this Elastic Compute Cloud or EC2, you are supposed to know a few things, all right? You are supposed to know what it is. You need to be very clear on what it is. So what in the world is EC2? You need to know what that is. Number two, you need to know the instance types. Instance types. Let me go through my chat. I wasn't checking. Let me see if you typed it. Okay, you typed that. Instance types. You need to know the instance types. So today we'll be going through the instance types. Then after that, you need to know the pricing models. The pricing models. Please put that as well in the chat for me. EC2 pricing models. EC2 pricing models. And so as we go through this particular lesson, I want you to pay attention to instance types, pricing models. So until we cover those topics, we have not done justice to EC2 and you are not ready for the examination. All right, so we will go over what it is for us to get a better understanding. Then we'll go over the instance types. Then we'll go over the pricing models. Then at least you'll be okay for now when it comes to Amazon EC2. Yes. So first off, what is Amazon EC2? Amazon EC2 is a cloud-based compute service. We know that already. It's a cloud-based compute service that provides scalable virtual machines to run applications in the cloud. That's all. That's the definition. Okay. Of course, these virtual machines are virtual servers, and these virtual servers are known as instances. So in this particular slide, we've actually covered what EC2 is. To simplify it EC2 is a compute service, is a cloud-based compute service that provides virtual machines, and it's good to say scalable virtual machines because these virtual machines are so special that you can scale anytime you want. What do we use them for? To run applications in the cloud. All right, and they are referred to as instances. So anytime you have an EC2 setup, it is called an instance. So what is it? That is what we've talked about. EC2 is a cloud-based compute service that provides scalable virtual machines to run applications on virtual servers known as instances. All right. So these virtual machines are virtual servers and they are called instances. All right. The main thing is that they are machines. EC2 provides you with machines in the cloud to run applications. Simple. They are machines in the cloud from AWS that we use to run applications. All right, so let's continue. So a virtual machine is a software-based emulation of a physical computer. Okay, so someone will ask, so what is a virtual machine? What is a virtual machine? A virtual machine is a software-based emulation of a physical computer. This is why when you create a virtual machine on your local computer, it is a full computer because when you are setting it up, you have to use RAM. You have to indicate the amount of RAM you want. You have to indicate the CPU you want. You have to indicate the storage you want to assign, and you create a computer. So even though they are software-based, they are computers. You can log on to them and use them as a machine. And once we say emulation, emulation allows you to emulate a physical or a hardware through software. So for example, you can run an Android phone on your computer. This Android phone on your computer, if you use an emulator, this Android phone will appear on your computer. You can use it like a real phone. Especially in mobile app development, we use emulators to emulate different phones. So we can have an Android phone or an iPhone on our computer to test the mobile app we are building. And it works like it's a real phone. Has all the features of Android and iOS based on which one we install. But then it's an emulator, it's a virtual system, and it is software based. So anytime we say virtual, we are talking about an emulation of a physical device. So these virtual machines, they are emulations of physical computers, and we can use them as computers. All right. So in Amazon EC2, virtual machines are referred to as instances. We've talked about that. They can run operating systems and applications like physical servers, but they are hosted in the Amazon's cloud infrastructure. AWS uses virtualization technology to create these virtual machines. Of course, when it comes to virtual machines, you need to use virtualization to create it. If you check your computer and your computer can create virtualization, you'll be told. Let me quickly check something, and if it is there, I'll just quickly show you. Because if your computer has virtualization, it means you can also create virtual machines with your computer. So you can find out if you have that feature. Let me just check where it is. Have I seen it? Maybe. All right. So let me share my screen again, and I will show you. Are you ready to see? Anybody ready to see? Okay. So this is my task manager. And under task manager, you can go to performance and you can see your CPU, your memory, and all of that in operation. And right over here, you can see something. Who can see what I'm pointing at? What am I pointing at? Virtualization. And you can see this here. And it says virtualization what? What is here? All right. So virtualization is enabled. So on your machine, if virtualization is enabled, it means you can go ahead and install a hypervisor and set up a virtual machine on your machine. So if virtualization is enabled on your computer, that is what it means. It means you can set up virtual machines. Yes. Yes. So it's possible to set up virtual machine on your local computer as well. Now, virtualization is a process of creating virtual versions of something. So, such as a computer, a server, storage, a network, instead of using physical hardware. Okay. So anytime we talk about something being virtual, we create a virtual version of it. Virtual version of it. And these virtual machines allow you to create a software-based computer. And the thing is that after you create it, it works like a real machine. It works like a real computer. All right. In EC2, virtualization typically refers to creating virtual instances known as EC2 instances using what we call a hypervisor. So a hypervisor is a software that creates and manages virtual machines. So anytime you want to create a virtual machine, you use something we call a hypervisor. And it allows you to create a virtual machines by allowing multiple operating systems to run on a single physical machine. So even though your computer is physical, you can have 3 computers on your computer for various purposes. For example, if you want to test certain things like in cybersecurity, you don't have to do those tests on your physical computer. You can create a virtual computer and do the test in that environment so that even if something happens to the machine is not a real, it's not a physical machine. After that, you can even delete the machine. So it's very, very interesting. If you've never created it before, you should. You should. So it sits between the hardware and the operating system, allocating resources like CPU, memory, and storage to each virtual machine, ensuring they run independently from each other. Wow. So this hypervisor is what we use. Popular examples of hypervisor include VirtualBox and VMware. I'm sure you've heard of VirtualBox and VMware. If you've heard of VirtualBox and VMware, let me know. There are other types of hypervisors as well. There are other types as well. But yes, Ruben has used VirtualBox or VMware. Who else has used VirtualBox or VMware? Nyampandi has used VirtualBox. Maxwell, Joanne, that's wonderful. So VirtualBox and VMware, they are referred to as hypervisors. And they are hypervisors because we use them to create virtual machines on our local machines. When it comes to AWS, they also use certain hypervisors called Zen or Nitro. That is what AWS uses for managing their instances or for creating their virtual machines. Okay. So in short, Amazon's EC2 lets you rent virtual machines to run your applications, perform computation, and store data, among other tasks. EC2 instances are versatile meaning they can do so many things and can be used for various purposes, such as hosting websites, running batch jobs, or running large-scale distributed applications. So that is wonderful. And that's wonderful to know about EC2. And we will quickly go through the features and we will get into the pricing model and the instance types before we are done with EC2. So it's very simple. For this EC2, a lot of emphasis will be on it for the examination. For the others, we will not spend too much time like EC2. But then all that we have done so far is to explain that there are compute services which offer virtual machines for running our applications and tasks. And we've talked about what EC2 is. So right now, from what you've heard, what is EC2? In short or in simple terms, how would you define EC2? What is EC2? Who can tell me what EC2 is? Amazon EC2. What is it? Because after this, we are going to go into the instance types and the pricing model. All right. So what is EC2? Anybody? Okay, so Elastic Compute Cloud. What is Elastic Compute Cloud? Just in simple terms, tell me what EC2 is. So in case somebody asks you, definitely in the exam, they are going to ask you, what is Amazon EC2? All right. So from what you've heard, how would you explain it? In very, very simple terms. Very simple terms. What is EC2? So it is a cloud-based compute service that is a cloud that provides scalable computing capacity in the cloud for, if you don't add a 4, you are not done. So I like the definition of Okello, a cloud-based compute service, cloud-based compute, you missed the word compute. It's a cloud-based compute service that provides scalable computing capacity, just say scalable virtual machines, that provides scalable virtual machines in the cloud for, or virtual machines for, if you add that, then you are good to go. So Okello is close. Okello says it is a cloud-based scalable virtual machines to run applications. Beautiful. Frida has gotten it. It's a service that delivers scalable computing in the cloud to run applications on virtual servers known as instances. That's it. Yes, Valerie has gotten it. Joan is a cloud-based compute service that provides scalable virtual machines to run applications on cloud servers. Beautiful. Joan has gotten it much more clearly. I like the definition of Joan. Yeah, so at least keep this in your mind and understand what that means. So all that we've talked about, just to help you to understand what that means. And we've talked about the fact that they are VMs, they are virtual machines, and we use them to run applications on virtual servers. Yes, virtual servers. You have to know that they are instances. Yes. Yeah. So cloud-based. So make the cloud-based hyphenated. Yeah, cloud-based is a cloud-based service. That's okay. So you can say it's a cloud-based compute service that provides, or they are correct. Okay, scalable virtual machines to run applications on virtual servers. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. When you say cloud-based compute service, then you at least you have put it in the category of compute. Okay. Yes. So it is fine whether you bring compute or not. It's very clear. All right. So let's quickly go through this. Then we will take a short break. And after the short break, we will get into the instance types and pricing model. So what are the key features of Amazon EC2? First off, Amazon EC2 is scalable. So it has scalability. So EC2 provides on-demand computing power. Yeah, so always think of EC2 as a computer or compute. Always try and bring compute in your definition, all right? So it provides on-demand compute power that can scale up or down depending on the workload, making it ideal for applications with variable demands. So when an application has demand that varies, EC2 is great because it offers scalability. Now, when we say scalability, we are just talking about its capacity to scale up or scale down. Scale up or scale down. It has that ability. So once we say scalability, that is what we are talking about. It has the ability to scale up or scale down. Now, what do you mean by scale? Scale, think of scale in terms of size. You can make it bigger or smaller. Why do we have to make it bigger or smaller? When it comes to virtual machines, if you have been operating websites for some time, you realize that websites depend on infrastructure to deliver the websites. I have encountered this 1,000 times because sometimes when a website gets a lot of visitors, the site starts to go off. I'm sure you've heard somewhere, probably in the university, that a lot of people are on the system, so the system is slow or the system is busy. That is what it means because the system depends on infrastructure. Okay, so you have to be someone who understands that fact that the system depends on what? Infrastructure to serve the application to users. So if the infrastructure is not enough based on the number of requests, then the service cannot be delivered. Okay, so this makes a lot of sense to those of us who have been managing websites, because when you get a lot of traffic with traditional hosting, you have to move to a different hosting service. You have to actually buy a different hosting service before you can even set up your website again for your heavy users. With AWS, you don't have to migrate your site. You don't have to move from your server or anything. You just need to scale up. Once you scale up, you are given more resources in terms of the RAM you need, in terms of the CPU you need. And since we are talking about virtual machines, we call them virtual CPUs or VIN CPUs. So you are given more compute resources to be able to handle the pressure. Let's even go down to your own local computer. You remember that sometimes your computer freezes. Has your computer frozen before? Anybody has your computer frozen before? Anybody in this class has your computer frozen before? Okay, someone says yes. Of course, everyone here has had that experience. You realize that you were running a lot of applications. At that time, you were running a lot. Okay, but someone else's computer is not freezing, even though they are running more applications than you. Why is your computer slow? Who can tell me why your computer is slow? Or what can you do to make your computer faster? What can you do to make your computer faster? Anybody? What can you do to make your computer faster? If your computer is slow, what is the cause? Yes, you increase your RAM, Timothy, thank you. Once you increase your RAM, you get speed. That is the resource we are talking about. You see, so when the workload is much, you may need more RAM. And there are some cases, it's not even RAM. There are some cases you need a better CPU. Because sometimes if you want to do, let's say, video editing, you need a CPU that can do video editing. You can't just use any CPU for video editing. You need certain CPU. And sometimes you can't even run certain software applications on your computer because of the CPU you have. These are the resources we are talking about. So with cloud computing, you pay for these resources that you want them to give you. All right. But then they don't want you to take too much that you are not using and be bearing a lot of cost. So they let you take what you need. But then when you start running a lot of applications and your system get busy, you can what? Scale up and get more. Get more. Yes, I remember a few weeks ago, I bought a computer and the RAM was 8 GB RAM. I said, no, I want 16 GB RAM. So what did I do? I bought additional RAM. We opened the computer and we installed it. So I have upgraded the computer to 16 GB of RAM. All right. I'm not saying everybody should go and open their computer. There are some computers, once you open them, if it's not done by an expert, it will always have issues. So I'm just telling you that we upgraded the RAM to 16 GB. So that computer can now be used for certain tasks that is memory intensive. So we've upgraded that. So in cloud, you can just scale up the resources you want to get a better computer, a better virtual machine. You get a better virtual machine instantly by the feature called scalability. This means this feature is available with EC2. Now, sometimes we are not even talking about the resources of a physical or of a single machine. We are not talking about the resources of a single virtual machine. Sometimes it is not enough. For example, when it comes to websites, sometimes you need multiple machines to host one website. All right. So the scalability could also mean scaling up to get more machines to use. All right. And sometimes that can be done with the help of a load balancer to be able to balance the load on multiple machines for the service to be provided. So this is beautiful. All right. So for now, let's just understand that EC2 has this capacity for scaling. That is why even in the definition, you are told that this is a scalable virtual machine. I like that. It's a scalable virtual machine. So with EC2, EC2 provides scalable virtual machines. Not virtual machines you cannot scale. So once you scale up, it means you are increasing the capacity or the resources within your virtual machine. And once you scale down, it means you are reducing. Why would you want to reduce? Because you no longer need the additional resources because you are going to be billed for it. You are going to be billed for it. You no longer need it. So why do you want to keep it? You are going to be billed for it. And sometimes when you are paying for what you are not using, it's very painful to be paying for what you are not using. So Amazon says that, okay, when you are not using it, you can scale down. And when you need more, you can scale up. And we are always there to help you. Then it has also provides flexibility in terms. EC2 offers a wide variety of instance types. So today we're talking about the instance types optimized for different use cases. So why do we have the different instance types? Because they are for different use cases. So for sometimes you may need certain types of instances, other times you need other types of instances, and we will get into them, but a brief summary of them is that we have general purpose instance types, we have compute intensive instances, we have memory intensive instances, we also have storage intensive instances. So we'll get into the instance types. So this offers flexibility for you to know the types of instances you need. In our next slide, after this, we'll be talking about the instance types and you will get a better understanding. All right. So it also offers elasticity. And so with EC2, users can increase or decrease compute capacity within minutes, ensuring that applications have the resources they need to perform efficiently. So we've talked about elasticity with EC2, and this means that your service can, your EC2 instance allows you to automatically increase their capacity or decrease their capacity, just like we talked about with compute. And later on, we will connect one AWS service to this. That makes it automatic based on certain events or configurations. So there is an AWS service or Amazon service called auto scaling. So type Amazon auto scaling in the chat for me. Type Amazon auto scaling in the chat. Amazon auto scaling. Let me see it in the chat. Amazon auto scaling. All right. So this particular Amazon auto scaling allows you to automatically adjust capacity of services in your Amazon, allows you to adjust the capacity of your Amazon services. So once we connect auto scaling to our EC2, you realize that when it comes to this scaling, you don't even have to touch it. It becomes automatic or automated, and it becomes elastic. So just like elastic or just like rubber band, it can automatically become bigger, stretch to become bigger, or become smaller. And we are talking about the capacity, the compute capacity of your computer. So just like the computer example we gave, whenever your machine detects that your memory has hit a certain limit and you are about to, the machine is about to freeze, what will happen? It will automatically add more RAM. That would be so beautiful. I think we should design a computer like that. Look at a laptop like that. That has auto scaling. And if, of course, even these things, they are within your computer in a certain way, but then we can design a machine like that that can auto scale in terms of compute capacity. Can you imagine your hard drive when it's about to be full? Some of us, our hard drives, you can see red already. It's already red, but with elasticity and auto scaling, it can auto scale and we'll get more storage, we get more RAM, and we get more, yes, we get more CPU anytime we need it, ensuring that applications have the resources they need to perform efficiently. So this is really, really cool. Then the pricing, pay as you go. Users pay only for the compute capacity they use. And so the compute capacity you use, that's what you pay for, reducing cost compared to maintaining physical servers. EC2 also provides options such as reserved instances. So once we talk about the pricing model, we'll get into the pricing model. You see that we have reserved pricing model. We have the spot pricing model or spot instance pricing model, just to help you to optimize your cost. So with AWS, even though you pay using the pay-as-you-go pricing, we still have pricing models that you can choose from. And the examination expects you to know these pricing models. So you'll be learning about 5 pricing models. And so this makes you get a better understanding of EC2 that is required for the examination. All right. Of course, we have the global reach. Instances can be deployed in multiple regions and AZs, availability zones, ensuring high availability, low latency performance for global applications. This is so beautiful. Secure environment. EC2 integrates with AWS security services such as IAM, identity and access management. Please type IAM in the chat for me. Identity and access management. And then we have VPC, Virtual Private Cloud, to ensure secure operations. All right. So we will take a short break. When we return or resume, we will talk about the instance types, and then we'll talk about the pricing models. And I'll see you. Okay, so great to be back from the short break. And the understanding is coming, it will come. As we build upon it, we will get the understanding. So just keep running. And we'll share this video as well. So in your private time, you make sure you go through the videos and you go over. When it comes to the services, all we want is for you to get the understanding. So we have the AWS core services in general. Of course, AWS has over 200 services, but this examination, we focus on the core services. And then we also understand how the services have been grouped into categories, and it makes it easier. So once we get to compute, you know that there are a few services to explore under compute. And for compute, we talk about EC2, one of the most popular services you find in AWS. And EC2 is a compute service which gives you a virtual machine to run applications. So once you have this understanding that, okay, this is a virtual machine that I use to run application, it makes a lot of sense. That's all you need. All right, that's the understanding you need. So long as you understand what a virtual machine is and you understand what we will use it for, you are good to go. What is left is to understand the instance types. Instance types. So again, type that we talk about the pricing models, and we'll be done with the EC2 and our lesson for today. So to get into these instance types, I'm going to play a short clip. We'll go through this clip. After the clip, then we talk about the instance types. So pay attention and listen to the instance types from this clip. And after that, we will get into the details of the instance types. So let me just share my screen and we'll do that.
Amazon EC2 provides a wide selection of instance types with diverse combinations of CPU, memory, storage, and network capacity. Hi guys, this is Abi from GokstraDB, and in this video, you're going to learn 8 things about EC2 instance types in AWS. Let's get into it. Number 1, general purpose instances provide a balance of compute, memory, and networking resources and can be used for a wide variety of workloads. Use cases include web applications, microservices, and build servers. Number 2, compute optimized instances are ideal for compute-intensive applications that benefit from high-performance processors. Use cases include batch processing, media transcoding, and dedicated gaming servers. Number 3, memory-optimized instances are designed to deliver fast performance for workloads that process large data sets in memory. Use cases include real-time big data analytics, in-memory caches, and open source databases. Number 4, accelerated computing instances use hardware accelerators to perform functions such as graphic processing and data pattern matching more efficiently. Use cases include machine learning, speech recognition, and autonomous vehicles. Number 5, storage optimized instances are designed for workloads that require high sequential read and write access to very large data sets on local storage. Use cases include transactional databases, search engines, and data streaming. Number 6, high-performance computing or HPC instances are purpose-built to offer the best price performance for running HPC workloads at scale on AWS. Use cases include weather forecasting, molecular dynamics, and crash simulations. Number 7, Amazon EC2 allows you to choose between fixed performance and burstable performance instances. Burstable performance instances provide a baseline level of CPU performance with the ability to burst above the baseline. Last but not the least, number 8, Amazon EC2 gives you the ability to choose between multiple storage options based on your requirements. In addition to the block level storage via Amazon EBS or temporary instance storage, you can also use Amazon S3 for highly available object storage. In summary, Amazon EC2 offers a large selection of instance types that include one or more instance sizes, allowing you to scale your resources to the requirements of your target workload. There you have it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.
All right. So number one, we talk about the instance types. All right. So this is beautiful. And we know that these virtual machines are instances, right? And what AWS does and what they are good at is to help you to optimize and choose the best of everything to save and get the best machine for your particular type of work and the workload that you have. So we know that there are instances, EC2 are instances, and Amazon or AWS is telling us that, okay, so we have created different instance types to help you so that based on how you want to use your EC2, you know which type of instance will be best for you. There are some instances we have optimized it for memory. And so with that particular type of instance, you have a lot of memory. So if you need to run an application that needs a lot of memory, don't choose the general purpose one, but choose the memory intense one or the memory optimized one. So we have our Amazon EC2 instances. We are sure of the word instance. We know that it comes in a variety of instance types designed for different use cases. So we are going to go through 5 that is expected for the examination. The first one is general purpose instances, and we will read more about it to get to know that, okay, when it comes to EC2, we are talking about computing resources, right? So we have virtual CPU or vCPU, we have RAM, we have storage, we have other resources. So for general, you get an instance that has a balance between these resources. But then we have compute optimized instance. This means that this is an instance that has more CPU power than RAM and storage. You see? So this is compute optimized instance. And then we also have memory optimized instance. So this is actually very easy to understand. And I'm sure by the end of this class, I'm going to ask you to tell me some of the instance types. And it's very easy to catch it because we know that these EC2 are instances, and we know that AWS is now telling us that, okay, we have types based on your use case, what you are going to use it for. We have storage optimized instance types, which means that if you need an instance with focus on storage, then don't choose the memory optimized instance type. Choose the storage optimized instance type so that you have more storage for your work. Then we have accelerated computing instances. So let's get into them and see how they are. So these types are organized into families based on the resources they provide. And the resources include the CPU, which we call the compute. Then we have memory, storage, and networking. All right, so let's talk about the general purpose instance type. This is very important for the examination. And what does it mean? General purpose instances are designed to provide a balance. Please type balance in the chat for me. They are designed to provide a balance in CPU, in memory, and networking resources. Balance, thank you. That is for the general purpose instance type. So a balance in compute or CPU, memory, and networking resources. Okay, you're also supposed to know the use case. So you can get a question about the general purpose instance type. What is it best suited for? So they are suitable for a variety of workloads, such as web servers, development servers, development environment, small databases, and other general applications. The moment you mention general applications, you have scored it. And once you understand this general purpose instance type, okay, so you are looking for two keywords, balance and general. So once you have that, you know that, okay, this is a general purpose instance type. And it's good that the examination is multiple choice and multiple answers. And so you don't have to write, you just have to look through and you catch the answer. And if you know it, you'll definitely get the right answer, okay? If you know it. So I'm happy you are being introduced to the general purpose instances. Number two, let's move on to what we call the compute optimized. Now, the moment you hear compute optimized, it makes a lot of sense because compute optimized EC2 instances, they are ideal for applications that require high performance processing power. Wow. They require more CPU. Just like your local computer that I talked about, if you want to do some advanced video editing or even advanced gaming, you can't just use any computer for these high intensive applications. So it applies to EC2 as well. Amazon says that, okay, we have this instance type. And so if your application requires this, then choose a compute optimized instance type. These instances are designed for compute-bound workloads such as high-performance web servers, batch processing, and scientific modeling. So one keyword you can get from here is high performance. So once you hear compute optimized, you talk about high performance processing. Yes, let's add processing or CPU to it. High performance processing power. Then we know that we are talking about the compute instance. So what is next? Who can tell me some of the next ones we are about to talk about? The instance types, we talked about the general purpose instances. We've talked about compute optimized. What is the next one we are about to talk about? Anybody who has an idea of the next instance type? We have memory optimized. Okay, good that you are taking notes. All right, so we have memory optimized instances, and memory optimized EC2 instances are designed for memory intensive applications that require large amounts of memory, such as high performance databases, in-memory caches, and real-time big data analytics. All right. Now, these instance types, I want to ask you, do they make any sense to you? Or you are lost? Do they make sense to you? I want to understand. Or you are lost? Do they make any sense to you? Instance types. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So, yes, we have these types of instances, and this EC2 that we've learned about, we've seen that there are types of instances, and they really make a lot of sense because sometimes you need a machine that is more optimized for some types of workloads. So you need to choose the right instance type. Remember, the EC2 virtual machines are instances. We are just telling you that they have types. So we have storage optimized instance type, and they provide high sequential read and write access to very large data sets, making them suitable for workloads that require high input-output performance or IO performance and large storage capacity. Wow. So they are suitable for workloads that require high input-output performance and large storage capacity. They require large storage capacity. These instances are designed for workloads such as data warehousing, distributed file systems, and NoSQL databases. So this is called storage optimized. Please type storage optimized in the chat for me. Storage optimized. Storage optimized. So let me see the first person to talk about the storage optimized. And all right. So far we have covered the general purpose instances. We've covered the compute optimized instances. We've covered the memory optimized instances. Now we've covered the storage optimized instances. Very soon I'm going to ask you to tell me the various types. And then we also have the accelerated computing instances. So with these accelerated computing EC2 instances, they leverage hardware accelerators such as GPUs and FPGAs and other specialized hardware to improve performance for certain types of workloads, including machine learning, AI, graphics rendering, high performance computing. So over here, the keyword here is the GPU, and with this, you understand that certain programs or certain applications require a lot of graphics processing to be able to work, like video editing and certain gaming. And if you don't have a machine with these GPUs, you are not able to run them. And so you see a lot of people even connecting external GPUs and upgrading their GPUs to be able to play certain games and to run certain applications. Yes. So this is very, very good. All right. So these are the instance types that we have looked at, and they make a lot of sense for us to be able to know that we need certain instances optimized for certain use cases. And so if you need an instance for workloads such as machine learning, artificial intelligence, graphics rendering, and high performance computing, then you need the accelerated computing instance. Wow, that's really serious. All right. So the final topic in today's lesson is called the pricing model. The pricing model. So the moment I'm done with the pricing model, I'm going to ask you to give me 4 instance types and 4 pricing models. For the pricing models, we are going to learn about 5 of them. And let's pay attention to them. I also play a short clip about pricing model, and then we will see if we get it as well. But then the instance types, I want to believe that you understand them. Okay, and it is very good to know that AWS gives us varieties of instances. So there are types, and you've seen the types, and they are going to help you. So let me share my screen and play one clip about pricing model. And when we are done with the whole lesson, I'm going to play one clip about EC2 in general, so that we will just refresh our memories on some of the features of EC2. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a short clip about the pricing, the EC2 pricing model. And we will take it from there. So let me share my screen right now, and let's talk about the pricing models. Let's watch this clip first. So pay attention. I'll ask you to tell me some of the pricing models you discover from this video before we get into them.
Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we are taking a look at EC2 pricing models, and there are 5 different ways to pay with EC2. Remember, EC2 are virtual machines, so we have on-demand, spot, reserved, dedicated, and AWS savings plans. So what we'll do is look at these in summary here, and then we'll dive deep onto each of these different pricing models. So for on-demand, you are paying a low cost, and also you have a lot of flexibility with this plan. You are paying per hour, so this is a pay-as-you-go model. Or you could be paying down to the second, which we'll talk about the caveats there when we get to the on-demand section. This is suitable for workloads that are going to be short-term, spiky, unpredictable workloads that cannot be interrupted, and it's great for first-time applications. And the on-demand pricing model is great when you need the least amount of commitment. For spot pricing, you can see we can save up to 90%, which is the greatest savings out of all these models here. The idea here is you're requesting spare computing capacity that AWS is not using, and that's where you're going to get that savings. You have flexible start and end times, but your workloads have to be able to handle interruptions because these servers can be stopped at any time to be giving to more priority customers. And this is great for non-critical background jobs, very common for like scientific computing, where jobs can be started and stopped at any given time. This has the greatest amount of savings. Then you have reserve or reserved instances. This allows you to save up to 75%. This is great for steady state or predictable usage. You're committing with AWS for EC2 usage over a period of 1 or 3 year terms. You can resell unused reserved instances, so you're not totally stuck with this if you buy them. This is great for the best long-term savings. Then you have dedicated, so these are just dedicated servers, and technically not a pricing model, but more so that the fact that it can be utilized with pricing models. But the idea here is it can be used with on-demand, reserved, or even spot. This is great when you need to have a guarantee of isolate hardware for enterprise requirements, and this is going to be the most expensive. So yeah, there you go, and we'll dive deep here, okay?
All right. So I want you to tell me some of the pricing models you learned from this video, and then we'll get into the pricing model. So this is the last topic in today's lesson, and that should give you a good grasp of EC2, and everything we've learned today, you can learn and recall in just 5 minutes because it is just the understanding you need. What an EC2 instance is, the instance types, and the pricing models. So I can see on-demand pricing model, I can see dedicated spot, I can see, wow, yeah, so these are pricing models. So we are going to go through about 5 of them, and we will just talk about what they mean and why do we have these pricing models. So EC2, as we know it, offers several pricing models. Why do they give us pricing models? To give users flexibility in terms of cost optimization based on specific use cases. All right. So when it comes to specific use cases, meaning what you want to do with your EC2 instance, you need to know about the instance types to be able to make the right choice. You see? So if you are not a cloud practitioner, you may not know that there are instance types to choose from. And we also have pricing models to choose from. So these pricing models allows you to optimize your cost based on how you are going to use it. So apart from the instance type, you can also make a decision in terms of the pricing the pricing model you want. How do you want to be billed? How do you want to be billed? Do you want to be billed every minute or every second? Or you want to get some discounts? Okay, so these are discount packages or flexible packages that allows you not to pay more or get some discounts. So let's go through the pricing model. And these include on-demand instances. So with the on-demand instance or on-demand pricing model, We will talk more about it to know when to choose that or when you select that, what it means. Then we have reserved, which is a package they are giving you. So AWS is saying that, okay, if you don't want to be billed with the on-demand billing style, then go for this option. You see, anything you are buying, sometimes there are options. So this is a way to buy and pay less. The only thing they are telling you is that reserve it. When you reserve it, you can attract some discounts. Then we also have the spot instances, which is another package, and it also has its benefits. You can reserve, you can pick that one as well, based on what it means. We'll get into that. And then we also have the dedicated host. With the dedicated host, we'll look into that. But this is like you getting a dedicated server because there are certain applications you don't want to run on the shared public cloud. You want to get dedicated servers. So you want to be built with dedicated host, meaning you want them to reserve your server in a way that you are the only one who uses it. Those of you who have done the webmaster class, this makes a lot of sense because we've talked about dedicated servers already, and you know the difference between the shared servers and dedicated hosting or dedicated servers. So with dedicated here, it means it's very similar to what AWS provides with EC2. Then we also have the savings plan. Your job here is to get an understanding of what these pricing models mean. So the first one here, on-demand instances, it says that you should pay for compute capacity by the second with no long-term commitments. This means that once you set up your EC2 and let's say you just want to use it for certain testings, you want to use it for short term, for something in a short term, then you go for the on-demand pricing model or on-demand instances. So you don't make any long-term commitment, you don't pay anything upfront. You just use and you are billed for what you used. This model is suitable for unpredictable workloads or applications where the usage is short-term. All right, so this is the normal pricing model. It's called the on-demand instance. Now, what are the benefits? Number one, no upfront costs or long-term commitment. This means that Amazon wants you to have certain options where you tell them that, okay, I'm serious about this instance. I want to keep it for 3 years. I know that I'm going to be running this application for 3 years or more. And so instead of buying your hosting, like in the traditional hosting, just paying for 1 month or paying for 1 year, Amazon tells you that if you know you are going to use it continuously, why don't you choose a package that you know you are going to use it for 3 years? So with that one, you can reserve it and get discounts. I remember someone telling me that, okay, I wanted to buy hosting, and they say that if I pay for 1 year, I get so and so discounts. That makes a lot of sense because if you're paying monthly, you are paying more. But if you pay for a year, you can get up to so and so discounts. All right. So with the on-demand package, there are no discounts. Okay. That one is a normal way to be built. So you don't pay anything, no upfront costs, no long-term commitment, ideal for applications with unpredictable traffic and flexible to scale and to scale down as needed. But the reserved instance requires an upfront payment or commitment to use your EC2 for 1 to 3 years. In exchange, users receive a significant discount compared to on-demand pricing. You receive significant discounts compared to on-demand pricing. You receive significant discounts. All right, so this is for users who are sure that they are going to be using their instance for a long time. And so if you know that you are not going to move away from AWS and you'll be there for a long time, then you'll be there for a long time, then why don't you reserve it? What it means is that why don't you pay something upfront so that we know that you are serious about it, and then we reserve it for you. So the benefit is that you get up to 75% cost savings compared to the on-demand pricing. Suitable for steady state workloads with predictable usage, flexibility in choosing instance types, sizes, and regions. So this is another pricing model that allows you to reserve your instances and you get a lot of discounts. Does a pricing model make any sense to you? When I asked the instance type, I didn't get responses from a lot of people. I don't know if it makes sense to you. But the pricing model, does it make any sense to you? Why they have different pricing models? All right. Okay. Next one, we have the spot instances. So please type spot instances in the chat for me. Spot instances. Please put that in the chat for me. Spot instances. Spot instances. Thank you so much, Ruben. And spot instances allow users to bid for unused capacity at a discounted rate. Okay, that's another package. AWS can terminate spot instances if demand for capacity increases. All right. So with this particular spot instances, what AWS is saying is that, listen, we have a lot of instances that we are not using. They are just there. So if you apply for this package, we are going to put you on the instances that we are not using. We are not using. So that instead of us just wasting it, you pay for them and we'll give you a lot of discounts. That is what a spot instance mean. And with this one, you bid for them and you get a lot of discounts. And it also has some issues in terms of later when they want to use those instances, they can terminate your instance with short notice. But then if you know you are going in for spot instance, you need to know whether it is good for you. And you can also configure your CloudWatch to let you know when your spot instance receives a notification that they need their space. And you can configure it to automatically move to other types of instances. But then once you are on the types of instances they are referred to or classified as spot instances, there are a lot of benefits in terms of the cost. So you get substantial cost savings up to 90% off on-demand pricing. So compared to on-demand pricing, you can get about 90% off. Ideal for flexible, fault-tolerant applications and can be terminated and restarted as needed due to low pricing. So this is spot instances. Let's keep that in mind. Spot instances. We are left with two to go through. We'll go through these two. And after after we'll be done with this, and we'll move on to another AWS service. All right. It is ideal for flexible, fault-tolerant applications. That is when you need to choose the spot instances. Then we have dedicated hosts, and they provide physical servers dedicated to your use. Wow. So you need to understand that all the infrastructure that you use, they are shared unless you intentionally choose dedicated. Just like the traditional hosting, we have shared hosting. So when you hear web hosting, don't think the servers are there for you alone. Other companies are on it, other clients are on it, so it is shared. However, if you pay for dedicated, it means they are going to dedicate the server to you. They are useful for licensing software that require dedicated hardware. And the key benefit is that they give you complete control over your physical server. Wow. So can you imagine AWS giving you a whole server that you are the only one with access to it? Sometimes it helps with compliance and license requirements. There are certain compliance or requirement for certain applications that the law says that you need to be using a dedicated server or a dedicated host. And so with this, they give you dedicated. Then the last one here that we'll cover is called savings plan. And this savings plan provide flexible pricing, allowing users to save on compute usage like EC2 in exchange for a commitment to use a specific amount of resources for 1 to 3 years. So key benefit here, flexibility to change instance types. You have the flexibility to change the instance type, the regions, or the operating systems while benefiting from the discount. And it offers up to 72% savings compared to on-demand pricing. So this gives you specific flexible pricing for a commitment to use a specified amount of resources for 1 to 3 years. So with this 1-2, it's just like the reserved, but this is a savings plan that allows you to choose a commitment and then or make a commitment upfront, and then you are giving the resources to you. This is where we end our class, and I'm going to play one video that will run you through EC2 in general. But before the video comes, I want you to give me
whatever kind of application you run, it's pretty certain that you're going to need servers. Sometimes you might need larger ones, and sometimes you might need smaller ones. Sometimes you might not need many, and other times you might need tens or hundreds. Whatever your requirements, wouldn't it be great to be able to obtain servers quickly and inexpensively? Traditionally, obtaining servers could be quite time-consuming and typically something that could take weeks or even months. You had to do research into the right kind of hardware to buy, maybe get budget approval, and then purchase the hardware, have it racked and stacked, and eventually get access to your servers. And once you'd purchased the servers, you were stuck with them. Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, or Amazon EC2, makes it easy for you to obtain virtual servers, also known as compute instances, in the cloud quickly and inexpensively. You simply choose the instance type you want, the temperature you'd like to use, which could be based on Windows or Linux, and launch the quantity you need. You can do this with a few clicks from the AWS Management Console, or automate the process via an API using an SDK in your choice of language. Within minutes, your instances will be running and you will have access with full administrative control, just like any other server. And with Amazon EC2, you pay only for what you use. When you're done using your instances, you stop them and you stop paying for them. Amazon EC2 provides a range of instance types designed for different use cases. These range from small and economical instances that are a great choice for low-volume applications, all the way up to cluster compute instances designed for high-performance computing workloads and cloud-based supercomputing on demand. Amazon EC2 provides instances optimized for compute, memory, storage, and GPU processing to enable you to find the right price and performance combination for whatever workloads you want to run. It's also really easy to resize your instances if your business or application requirements change. Amazon EC2 offers a choice of flexible pricing options. With on-demand pricing, you pay only for what you use. When you stop your instances, you stop paying. There are no long-term commitments or upfront fees. Reserved instance pricing lets you obtain a significant discount over the on-demand price in return for a low one-time payment. Spot instance pricing lets you name the price you want to pay for instances using market-based pricing and can allow you to obtain compute capacity at a significant discount to the on-demand price. We know that security is very important for your applications, and Amazon EC2 provides a number of built-in security features. Your instances are located in a virtual private cloud, or VPC, that is a logically isolated network that you control. Amazon VPC provides you with a number of network security tools you can use to control who can access your instances. You can also connect securely to your on-premises network with a hardware-based VPN device. Amazon EC2 instances provide you with various amounts of directly attached temporary storage, depending on instance type, and you can also use Amazon Elastic Block Store, or EBS, to provide persistent block storage for your Amazon EC2 instances. Amazon EBS also offers you the ability to provision storage with a specific level of performance to meet the needs of your application. It can be difficult to predict the demand that your applications might experience, and Amazon EC2 provides auto-scaling to help ensure that your application's demands are met. Auto-scaling lets you define metrics to increase or decrease the number of instances that you are running. You can choose standard metrics such as network bandwidth or CPU utilization, or a custom metric that you define. This helps you ensure that you can meet your application's demands without manual intervention and pay only for what you need. You can sign up for an AWS account today and get started with Amazon EC2 in minutes. And with the AWS free tier, you can try cloud computing for free.
Okay, so this gives us a lot of information about EC2, and we've covered a lot about EC2. This is where we bring training to an end.